So the first question, let's just start at the beginning for someone who has no idea what the hell we're talking about. What is hemp?
Licensed growers in Western Australia, what we're legally allowed to do is we're allowed to use the stalk and we're allowed to use the seed. So they're the two major ones. Hemp actually is a cannabis sativa. That's basically what it is. And that is the Latin name for it. So yeah, there's so much more we'd like to do with it, but that actually is industrial hemp. It has to be under 1% THC in Western Australia and most states now too.
Hemp and cannabis is really the same plant. We just call it a different name based on where we live. So in Australia, if it's got less than 1% THC, we call it hemp. For example, my crop had 0.8% THC, so if I grew that in the US, they'd call it cannabis because their rules are less than 0.3%. So really it's the exact same plant. It's really just the use that you want it for. So when you want to grow for fibre, you plant it close together, so it grows a lot taller. And that's where a lot of people see the hemp plant and think, oh, that's a really tall, thin plant. Well, if you grow up 2 metres apart from each other, it will still look like a big cannabis plant that we're used to. So it's the exact same plant, it's just the THC level that determines if we call it hemp or cannabis. In regards to medicinal cannabis, well, I guess it's really when we're using hemp or cannabis for medicinal uses. We can't, unfortunately, yet use industrial hemp for medicinal purposes. We throw it in the bin, but the medicinal cannabis side is just when we use the actual flower from the plant. So we get rid of the males, you let the female hemp or cannabis plant grow, it produces its flower, and that's what has your cannabinoids, your terpenes, and all your beneficial ingredients for the medicinal side. With hemp, we just use the seed, so we let the actual male pollinate the female, and so it produces a seed, so we cold press the seed to get your seed oils, or use the herd or fibre for other uses as well. So same plant, just using different parts of it.
Testing. Wonderful, great. Go ahead, Shah.
Okay, just to add with that one, that's beautiful explanation. Just I would like to go the chemical composition of the industrial hemp versus the marijuana. Industrial hemp contains less than 1% THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, but the marijuana it goes from 3 to 35% of THC. That's the beauty of the industrial hemp versus the marijuana. And if you take it, then you can fly over the moon without any helicopter. Thank you.
I'd just like to add something that I found out from Georgina, that with the hemp, with the parts that they're not allowed to use, there's actually still CBD oil in there that could be extracted. But under the current laws, I don't know what you're doing with that part of the plant, but the CBD oil is not allowed to be extracted. And I think that considering we've got the soil, the nutrients, water, the time and effort that went into growing that plant, but then not being able to use that CBD, it's wasteful and ridiculous, basically.
Wonderful. So just to clarify, hemp is cannabis?
Yes.
Or not? The difference is in licensing, so it's a legal term.
Yes, so any doctor in at least WA in Australia can prescribe medicinal cannabis. They just need to know how, which I can show them if they need, but it really is just a matter of the patient has to have a condition that it's suitable for, which is literally everything, and then they have to have tried another medicine in their lifetime, and then they've qualified. So literally it will take your doctor 5 minutes to prescribe you. It's free for them to do. You can get them approved from the government within 2 days and get your prescription. So if any doctor is interested, any one of your own doctors, I'll teach them how to do it, or come to our clinic at Medican. But yeah, no, it's very easy, simple. There's no licensing, there's no extra ticket they need. All doctors think there's this extra thing, but no, any GP can prescribe cannabis. So yeah, let them know they can.
Yes, please let them know, everybody.
It helps the soil, regenerates the soil.
Soil regeneration.
Prevents a lot of carbon, more carbon into the soil of the tree.
Would anyone on the panel like to elaborate on that? Why soil is good for the earth?
No, I thought I might talk about the seed and the health benefits of the seed.
We're getting there. We're going to go.
You asked me if it was healthy. Look, with the soil, The hemp plant has quite a long taproot, and that adds organic matter to the soil. It's also involved in phytoremediation, so it can extract heavy metals and pollutants from the soil, making it more healthy. What else can it do? It can extract quite large amounts of nitrogen and phosphorus, so that might be good around areas that have been used in intensive agriculture, such as piggeries and chicken farming. The leaf that drops from the plants as they grow also adds more organic matter to the soil, and the more organic matter we add to the soil, the healthier the soil becomes, the more life exists in the soil, and the better we can produce agricultural crops. But also it locks carbon into the soil, which is really, really important for locking away carbon and slowing down climate change. So that's the soil. Anyone got anything to add to the soil?
So one of the really interesting things about cannabis and hemp is that it can obviously sequester carbon, but it can also sequester radioactivity. So when you're looking at places like Chernobyl, for instance, where the soil is still radioactive, hemp could be used there to reduce that radioactivity, which I think is quite amazing. And when you look at the mining industry in WA, very much so, where a lot of the environment has been disrupted, a lot of the microbiome of the soil has been disrupted as well. Pollutants may be added to that, so hemp could play a role there in regenerating that land to be healthier overall.
Wonderful. Oh, go ahead, Shantana. How's your home?
Okay, thanks. Just I would like to add a couple of things. One is they have a tremendous impact on the microorganisms. We know some are very beneficial for the funding system, some are not. And they are going to compromise with the root lesson nematode. They can control that microorganism, which is not good for us. And another simple things, we are adding lots of organic matter. We know our soil health is not very healthy in Western Australia. Lots of sand overlay, but we would like to add more organic matter during the shedding of the leaves during their growing season. One beauty is that if that hemp cultivar is very powerful on ground covering early, they can compete well with the weeds, which are very notorious. Most of the farmers, they know how to control weeds. If that has the capacity to grow quickly, cover the ground, they can cut off the photosynthesis of the weeds, that it is better way to control weeds without any herbicide applied. Thank you.
Okay, just a follow-up question regarding the toxicity of soil and cleaning that, so the remediation and the radioactivity. Is that plant still can we use that plant as a commodity afterwards at all?
To be honest, I haven't been able to find a lot of research on that, but I suspect that would not be the case.
Not for food, but for the stored food.
Okay, so what about in construction?
Certainly, I mean, the plant actually is used very much for the construction industry. I mean, that's something which we, I don't know if people know much about the plant itself, but basically there's the leaf and seeds which people have spoken about. But for us, we actually do want exactly that. We want the stem of the plant, which is the centre of the plant, which is called the herb. And then there's another material on the side of the plant, which is called the bast fibre. There's not a lot of use with that at the moment, or has been used in the past for things like rope. It's something which obviously is a potential large market as well. But certainly, that is our main area of business. We actually do want exactly that, and it's very different to a lot of the plants which are actually grown for their seed. We would like to maximise the plant, to get the most tallest plant, for example, and the widest diameter, so we can actually reap the benefits of the centre of the stem.
Neil,
Thank you. I guess part of the amelioration of soils, which includes heavy metals, we've got to remember that it's the roots that actually store all of those heavy metals. There is some of the heavy metal it gets transferred into the stem and leaf matter. I guess it's up to people then to decide as to is the heavy metals that are stored in those plants, especially in the above ground areas, are they useful, and does the fact that they may carry heavy metals of one sort, or in fact radioactive metals, do I want them near me? Do I want them in my house? The second part of it is, what about the bit underground, the roots? If I do ameliorate the soil with the roots and it does a darn good job of soaking up radioactive materials, what do I do with the roots? I can't leave them in the soil. I can't put them in a big pile somewhere and make them wet. Hopefully they'll go away. I've got to be able to do something. I can't even burn them because that will mean the heavy metals will be redistributed again. So we face a quandary in those areas.
Our company's built 8 hemp homes, and we obviously know the benefits of it, but when customers buy a hemp house and get a hemp house built, they are looking for certain things. They're looking for a healthy home, and that's basically what they're looking for, basically, to start with. They want a breathable, healthy home. They want a house that's got amazing installation. They want a house that's actually pest-proof. They want a house that's fire-proof. So these are the major things that after. They're also after something that can be made with Australian product. So that's actually here as well, and WA just have that. The benefits of building out a hemp is it's a no-brainer. That's what we say basically. It's a no-brainer when you build a hemp house. As soon as you walk into that house, you are going to save money. Yes, you will pay a little bit more. Definitely, won't you? You would pay more for a hemp house. But I look at what's happening in the building industry at the moment. Prices have gone up 20 to 30%. And hemp is going to be comparable very, very soon, I reckon, within 12 to 24 months. So this is an industry that's going to climb and get bigger and bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like Georgina said, I mean, one of the things we're trying to actually work with is to actually bring down that gap between, for example, a double brick home and a house of, which is constructed out of hemp. And I think the day we can actually challenge somebody and go, all right, you can actually, there's your double brick home and your clay-based double brick home, and there's a hemp home, and we go, all right, the cost is actually very, very similar. You know, I think it is, like Georgina said, it's a no-brainer, and there are extreme benefits. You spoke of before, things like you said, whether it comes to the agroscopic nature for your health, you know, your vermin sort of proof, your fire ratings, everything. So, look, there are so many benefits. I don't want to elaborate too much more on that, but yeah.
Everybody here would
Everybody, yeah. Actually, one thing I would like to say is, like, we actually have had the benefit of actually building a showroom in Bridgetown, and the most amazing thing I remember putting up the first wall, for example, when you actually walk into it and go, even for acoustics, you know, the noise actually in here is so far different to actually going the humidity, and I think when you actually do experience that, it's truly the first time where you actually go, the benefits are actually quite amazing. So if you get a chance just to walk through any home like that, that's then where you'll realise, actually, where's the heating? You're just in a natural environment, you know. Yeah, there is no heating or no cooling, and then you can start to reap the benefits.
Topical use, as in,
Correct.
at the moment, the only thing that we can actually use topically is hemp seed oil. So you'll see a lot of great companies here, all Australian companies that are here that have got skincare and use it. And I assume most of them, like ourselves, will be a good 20% hemp seed oil. And it's the omegas. It's super high in omegas. It's super soft on your skin. It really does help people with very dry skin, dermatitis, eczema, and psoriasis. And they're the major selling points for skincare. Look, we've been making skincare for 10, 15 years now. You know, we were selling hemp seed oil probably 15 years ago. People only wanted filtered hemp seed oil. Can you guys imagine what filtered hemp seed oil? It was clear. it was coming from China and it had no nutrients in it whatsoever. The people wanted clear hemp seed oil because they didn't understand what a raw hemp seed, a super rich raw hemp seed was. So hemp being passed legally for food in 2007 was a big game changer. And yeah, I mean, we used to sell hemp seeds and oil, and we used to say you had to use it as a moisturiser. So the people were taking it internally way before that. But yeah, it's got amazing benefits, and it's great to see so many Australian companies here, food and skincare. There's a long way to go, as we all know, but we're getting there.
I'm going to answer that because this shirt is not hemp, and I've got some really serious sweat patches going on. It's been like this all day, and I really wish I was wearing hemp. George knows more about wearing hemp.
Life is experience.
Hemp. You have to wear hemp.
And I also wear the hemp.
You got
I bought it
hands
from
wearing hemp.
George's chemical shop.
Yeah, for example,
I feel very good, very comfortable, and I feel, I don't like to put any words. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
So hemp lets you breathe. As a clothing item, it will let your skin breathe. It will keep you warm in winter and keep you cool in summer. And this is what people, when I tell them, they go, nah, I can't do that. It can do that, absolutely. And your product will last you 3 times longer than any other cotton that you wear. Hemp is 3 times more durable than cotton. It's an industry.
Yes. It really is. It's, yeah, so we do a range of hemp seed oils for dogs and cats and horses, and oh boy, I think there's something else on the planet we haven't found yet, because surely omega-3, 6, 9 can't be so magical, surely. But no, nutrition is important, but arthritis, allergies, anxiety, it's crazy just to think. There's no cannabinoids in the hemp seed, but it's still helping all these elements with pests, so you can actually blow my mind when I stop eating that because lots of stuff to get out in terms of nutrition. But no, yeah, definitely depends, 100%. Yeah, skin issues, the environmental allergies, really just about creating a better internal environment, improving gut health, improving homeostasis when their body can fight for itself, really. So it's fixing it from the root cause.
I reckon if you've tried hemp foods, you probably all know the answer to that one, but I will elaborate. Hemp foods are amazing for a few different reasons. The first one is their omega profile. So they have a fantastic omega-6 to 3 ratio, perfect for human requirements. Most people in the Western world have way too much omega-6 in their diet, and this is pro-inflammatory, and it causes problems. We need more omega-3. Most people are deficient in omega-3, and omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. It's been scientifically proven to be anti-inflammatory. It's also good for conditions like ADHD in kids and for other mental health problems like anxiety. And I'm going to tell you why in a little while when we talk about the endocannabinoid system. So hemp seed is also fantastic because of its protein quality. It's got a very highly digestible protein that contains all the essential amino acids our bodies require. Okay, so the essential fatty acids and the protein, the essential amino acids, are absolutely fundamental to a healthy body. Without these essential nutrients that we all need to get from our diet, our body can't grow, it can't repair. The cells within our body have difficulty communicating with each other, things start going wrong. And I think you'll all agree when we see the rise of autoimmune diseases, a lot of them as a result of chronic inflammation in our body, that we're definitely not getting some very vital nutrients from our diets. Okay, so hemp and the other super seeds, chia and flax, should all form part of your diets every day. Hemp seed is also high in magnesium, so I think a tablespoon gives you about half your daily magnesium requirements, and this is essential for muscle relaxation and nerve health. Also contains potassium, phosphorus, vitamin E, calcium, iron, vitamin B. It's just heaps of good stuff. Right? So anyone else got anything to add to that about? Oh, one other thing is got fibre. Some of the seed coat, or the seed coat is high in insoluble fibre that makes it all the way through your digestive tract. Okay, it's like an exfoliator for your insides, and we do not get enough of this in our diets.
Thank you. In regards to the seeds, I was a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner at some stage, and one of the herbs that was taken away from us was cannabis seeds, and they are a wonderful laxative, especially for the elderly. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to come back into our dispensary. And the only high you will get is from having a good bowel motion, which by the time you're 70, you will totally understand the value of. The other thing with the omega-3s is that most of our omega-3s now come from the ocean. And even though it may well be sustainably harvested, obviously there are other animals out there, whales in particular, that eat the phytoplankton. So that as an industry has a much greater environmental impact. Now the other thing that you find too with fisheries, and in Australia the industry is fairly well regulated, but the oils need to be highly filtered and need to be tested for mercury. So if you use cannabis seeds instead, and you've got good, clean, healthy soils, you do not have to worry about heavy metal contamination in there.
Do you think the Western Australian or the federal government would have legalised anything that could possibly result in a positive drug test? No way. Not our ultra-conservative government. So it's perfectly safe. You can eat as much hemp seed as you want and you are absolutely fine. Nothing to worry about. Healthy, not harm. Okay, so this is a system in our body, like our immune system, our central nervous system, the cardiovascular system. It evolved about 600 million years ago. Okay, so it's heavily integrated into our system, and not just humans, of course, because we didn't exist back then. It's in all mammals. Okay, and sea urchins have it, birds have it, it's in our dogs, that's why they respond so well to hemp seed oil. It's a fundamental system to our body. It was only discovered in 1994, okay, so it's not quite mainstream yet. It's going to take another few years, but there's a lot of science going on behind the scenes, trying to understand this system and how it integrates with our body. What it does, I guess that the easiest way to explain it is, have you ever thought about why medicinal cannabis is so effective for such a wide range of health ailments? You know, it's good for pain, it's good for inflammation, it's good for mental health, for sleep, for autoimmune diseases, for cancer, you know, appetite stimulation. And if you've ever wondered why one plant can be so effective for our body, then the answer is the endocannabinoid system. So our body can actually produce its own cannabinoids called endocannabinoids. And the reason why medicinal cannabis can be effective is because cannabinoids are similar in structure to endocannabinoids, okay, the ones that are produced within our bodies. Cannabis produces phytocannabinoids, phyto meaning plant. So when there's something not quite right in our own bodies, we're not producing enough endocannabinoids, and you take medicinal cannabis or terpenes or CBD oil, it works because they are taking the place of our endocannabinoids. So what we need to be doing is trying to eat to nurture our own endocannabinoid system so we don't have to rely so heavily on expensive medicinal cannabis products. Right? A lot of us have the ability to make some simple dietary changes to help our body produce its own endocannabinoids. And one of the vital changes that you're already making is eating hemp seed because it is high in omega-3 and that is a precursor to endocannabinoids. And there are other factors that interrupt our endocannabinoid system, like some pollutants and plastics and genetics. I think there's one, I won't talk too much longer, sorry. There's one island, I can't remember where it is in the world, where people have a mutation that means they create more of the endocannabinoid anandamide, or they don't break it down as quickly. And anandamide is the bliss hormone, the bliss endocannabinoid. It makes you happy. So these people, this island, is significantly more happy than the rest of the world. I wish it was, I don't think it's Australia. It's definitely not Australia. But perhaps you all have a friend out there who's always happy, like annoyingly happy. And you just, like, why? Why are you always so damn happy? And it's probably because they produce more anandamide, or the enzyme that breaks down anandamide doesn't break it down as quickly. Okay, so there's a lot, I guess the point is there's a lot we need to learn about this, but there's a lot we could be doing about it already. Eat your hemp seed, have other omega-3 sources, and get more fats into your diet. Herbal teas and herbs and spices, they contain compounds called terpenes. Terpenes are similar to cannabinoids in that they can bind to the receptors and activate the receptors in your endocannabinoid system. Terpenes are cheaper than medicinal cannabis products, and they are on the market today. Come and talk to me afterwards if you'd like to learn more. I'm sure other people have. Matt, you have something to say about the endocannabinoid system?
You probably will. Well, a little bit as well. I think we all can realise when babies actually have breast milk, so in breast milk we produce endocannabinoids that actually gives that bit of a
We do?
drug. Pardon?
We do?
Yeah, we all do. Yeah. I haven't tried it myself yet, but no, they are. So it's producing breast milk, so you babies get a bit milk drunk, and that's actually the cannabinoids doing that. So that's almost the last time we have cannabinoids because it was made illegal, and so we're also depleted in these, and that homeostasis goes out of whack, inflammation occurs, disease occurs, so we just really need to replenish our endocannabinoid system by just eating hemp foods and things like that. But within the plants as well, there's all different cannabinoids. Everyone knows of THC, CBD, there's actually hundreds of others. CBC, CBG, THCV, everything else. Then there's the terpenes as well. So when you're actually kind of looking at certain effects cannabis or hemp can give, it's actually a combination of these ingredients working together. So some people might get sedated from cannabis, another person, you try a different bit of cannabis and it gives you energy. And that's actually these terpenes working in, they call it the entourage effect. So all these ingredients working together and creating different outcomes. So it's worth keeping in mind too that if someone's ever tried cannabis and said, no, it's not for me, it was just that type. You know, if you scull a bottle of Bacardi 151, I'm sure you'll think alcohol's not for you. So don't give up on it. Think, okay, there's many other formulas, many other medicines and types that might be more suited to your ailment or your lifestyle. So it all interacts within our body, and there's hundreds of different bits interacting with us. So we've got a long way to go. The clinical trial work is needed. The best bit is, even the most basic product is helping. So it can only get better from here. So there's many different kinds. So you've got the main form being oils. So you've got your CBD, THC oils. You can get flour as well, so the bud. So I guess the way we look at it is that oils are a bit more slow release. Good for your maintenance dosing, they last a bit longer within the body. The flour, the inhalation is quick onset, so having a panic attack, breakthrough pain where you need the effect instantly and you can inhale. We also have balms for topical use that we've actually just released a vaginal cream for endometriosis. So there's a whole range of different kind of products coming to the market. But yeah, we've got a long way to go. But flour, balms, oils, capsules, many different types.
We have uses at the moment for every part of the plant. Okay, so, but it depends on what you grow it for. So if you're growing for seed, then you get a very useful plant with a great big seed head, and hopefully enough that it makes it valuable for turning into oil and food. If you want to grow it for fibre, you grow a very tall, thin plant with a good outside soft bast. If you want to grow it for houses, you grow a different sort of plant for houses. And obviously, if you want to grow it for medical, you grow a different plant again. There are many different varieties of cannabis sativa, and we are just starting to find out which ones grow best in WA for what we want. So it's a matter of a bit like growing your roses in your garden. You get, depending on what colour you want from your roses, what smell you want from your roses, depending on the plant that you put in. So it's the same with cannabis sativa. The root has a steroid action in it, so it can be used as a pain salve. And there are some people in WA that I know that are making the hemp root cream. and that is perfectly legal at the moment, but it is a steroid system. And it's also a good, as we've discussed before, it's a good soil-based for farmers, for people growing it in their farms to try and build soil. Yeah. So, yeah, no, root has a very big place as well.
Yes, it can. Okay, anyone can have an allergic reaction to any particular substance. So, similar to peanuts, for instance. I haven't really come across negative side effects as such, but it is important that you find the right type of cannabis product for your particular health issue.
Thank you, Steve.
We're not suggesting everyone goes and smokes heaps of cannabis. That's all I have to say.
We
We do believe that we need to work with peace state.
Cannabis can be dangerous if there's a big crate of it up high that falls on you. But no, everything in moderation is fine, the right thing to use. So some people might have a side effect to say THC might create a bit of paranoia. So they would just find them a plant that doesn't have THC, things like that. So that's a little bit about now we can legally actually put billions of dollars into research to really figure out what each of these side effects are coming from and to fine tune it for that person. So, but water's dangerous if you have too much of it. So we, that's why we just do it properly and sensibly.
No, weirdly enough, you cannot. And I think that's highly unfair, to be honest. People who are seeking health solutions and have tried many of the standard medical options are finding that that doesn't work, there's a lot of side effects, and they would be able they can be helped with cannabis products. Unfortunately, it is not on the PBS as yet. The reason for that is that the TGA believes there's insufficient evidence to validate it, to put it into the PBS. I disagree with that. There's an incredible amount of scientific evidence out there, and to me it appears to be more of a moral point of view, with quite a dash of willful ignorance thrown in as well. Obviously, as a representative of the Legalised Cannabis Party, we are pushing for the government to allow people to grow plants at home so they can grow their own medicine. Most of you would have heard of Rick Simpson oil, I imagine, which is one of the most common oils that people come across when they're looking for treating cancer. Apparently, people need to grow 8 plants at home to be able to self-treat with that. Currently, a lot of those people are being pushed into illegal acquisition pathways, and at times they are being treated as criminals. So a woman in August, I think, but anyway, it was published yesterday or the day before. An elderly woman in Mount Barker was recently busted with having some plants, and she's been using cannabis oil for quite a while successfully to manage her symptoms relating to cancer. And she's been treated as a criminal. I find that incredibly offensive. This woman wasn't doing any harm to anyone. She was simply trying to make her own life better. And that is the case for a lot of people. Most people that are growing in their backyard might be 1 or 2 plants. They're not out there dealing. They're not doing any harm. And one of the effects that has come from that people can't grow their own, and that THC testing has been introduced and people are losing their license for that, is that you are seeing now that in certain mining industry where people get tested extensively for substances but not for impairment, these people are moving towards other drugs, including alcohol in larger amounts and methamphetamine Now, methamphetamine is addictive, cannabis is not addictive. But methamphetamine clears much more rapidly from the system than THC does. So I know I went on a bit of a path there, but in the end, a lot of those people, if they could have 1 or 2 plants at home, grow their own, roll a joint when they come home from work, turn up to work the next day, there might be THC present, but they're not in any way impaired. We would have a happier society, a better functioning society. Much less money would have to be spent on policing. In Victoria, we have just done an inquiry into cannabis. The amount of money spent on cannabis policing would be sufficient to basically build a new hospital every 4 years or so. So letting people grow 1 or 2 plants for their own use would free up so many resources for so many other important things that people actually need. And it would keep people out of jail. 2 women in Geraldton recently got arrested. I think they were sisters. They had lost their job due to COVID restrictions and things like that. JobKeeper had run out. They decided they were going to deal cannabis. Possibly not the best life decision, but when you're in a situation where you have no money, you have no support, you have children, and you are at risk of losing your house, right? This might seem a fairly good idea at the time. Anyway, these 2 women have ended up in prison for 8 months. And I don't know who's looking after their children or who's taking over their mother role in their lives. And how unfair is that? And it's not going to make any difference. You know, that bit of cannabis taken off the street, it's not going to have any effect. It really isn't. Anyway, that was me. Thank you.
Beautiful, thank you for bringing that. You kind of covered the next question, so we'll move on.
There's a few key or fundamentals that you need to have some land. So they're not just going to give it to someone who's got 1 acre in Serpentine or something like that. You need to have some agricultural land and to be intending to actually farm it as an agricultural crop. You should not have a criminal record. You should have agricultural experience and be able to demonstrate or at least say what you're going to be using it for and whether or not you're going to be processing it, and if you are processing it, what you're going to be doing with it. They need to know that you are not going to be growing a hemp crop and putting a few sneaky plants in there and selling on the black market, or using it for other illegal purposes. So other than that, it's not too difficult to get your license so long as you tick those boxes. Don, do you have anything to add to that coming from the department?
No, you're pretty right. There are 3 licenses within the department before we 3 licenses. One of them is to grow it, so you need the license and you need to have good character and you need to pass the police test that you haven't been a naughty person in the previous life. The second one is to harvest it, and so you need to be able to say that you can harvest it and it's what you will be doing with it once it's harvested. And the third one is processing. And there is a 4th one you need to pull out, which is the transporting. So if you're going to move the stuff around the state, move it from your farm to somewhere else, you also need a license to transport. Now, all of those ones do take a little bit of time to work through. So if you're in a hurry to grow a crop, you've got to start now.
I think there has been a few farmers that have struggled a little bit, and the Hemp Association of Western Australia has helped quite a lot in that way. So if anyone does want to grow and they are struggling and they've ticked all those off, the association is here to help, absolutely. Yeah.
Especially if you're a member.
As a farmer, you can get some products at the moment definitely off your crop, right? So you can sell the stem, which you cut and bale the same as you do a hay crop. So if you get a cut and baled stem, which can be sent off to processing, and you can harvest the top of your crop for seed. So you just use a combine harvester, the same as most of our farmers already use. And the seed just has to be cleaned and dried. The stuff you're not supposed to send off farm is the leaf matter. So when you're harvesting it, you try to get as much leaf matter not in the harvester but on the ground. So you're adding to your carbon sequestration in the soil where you've been, in the paddock. So you want all leaf matter to drop, you want the seed in the back of the harvester, and you want your stems windrowed, which you go back about 3 weeks later after they've retted for a while, and you bale it. And then both those products can be sold off farm. So like all farming, it's all a matter of timing. And the reason that we have farmers trying to farm hemp at the moment is because it's only a 12-week to 14-week process, and so they can get it into the cropping system quite easily. So the redding at the moment is usually just windrowing it. So most farmers just drop it, windrow it to the side so that they can pick it up later into bales. They leave it for about 3 weeks, and the microbes, usually the microbes in the soil and from the atmosphere, especially if it rains, will help the redding process. You don't want it to completely go, but you want it soft enough so that it will turn in a bale and it will go to processing afterwards. Does that help? There possibly could be, but if it's going to cost more farm machinery, it's going to be hard to sell to farmers. Or yes, you can red it if you want to in a stream, like they do in some countries, and that will make it go a lot softer and be a lot for fibre. But there is no market, particularly in WA or in Australia, for fibre per se at the moment, because nobody has quite worked out. There's a big production process, fibre, and nobody has got the money yet to go into. Georgie, I think I'm right here. Nobody's got the money yet to go into doing anything with fibre. So if we get a fibre mill, all things have changed. So we're looking at a totally different plant, we're looking at a different process, and we're looking at a different outcome. But for the farming and for the outcomes that we're looking for at the moment, it only has to be ready for about 2 or 3 weeks, just enough to soften the lignins on the outside of the plant so that when it goes through the processor, it cuts down rather than going up the system.
That's a very tricky question. There are so many products out there, and every product has a different process to create it. So for seed, for example, the hemp seeds that most people are familiar with, the little white soft one, that requires a dehulling machine, which come in all different sizes and shapes and values. So to set one of them up, it could be, $50,000 for something quite simple that does a not very good job, or $1 million for a world-class facility. And then fibre is different again, and then herd for building is different again. Oil pressing is different again. Every single product in this room has a different line of processing. So,
we have a processing facility in Margaret, and we're very lucky the Western Australian government gave us a grant to set that facility up. We don't have food processing yet here. Harvey, hopefully, in the future will be the one that does that. The problem we do have is if you look at the stalk, yes, we can use the inside of that stalk for building products. Yes, we can use it for printing. The outside of the stalk is the fibre. We have some on our stall over there. That fibre does not have an industry as such yet in the whole of Australia. That fibre is used around the world for clothing. We do not have clothing manufactured here at all. It got broken up in Victoria 15, 20 years ago, scrapment. So we don't have it. I've been to CSIRO in Victoria. Their machinery looks like it's from the 1970s. It's so old. So clothing is not on our radar at all. What fibre is on for the radar for hemp growers, industrial hemp growers, is bioplastics. That's one of the big ones. It's hydro mulch. There's so many other things you can actually use this fibre for, but farmers want to give it to us. We want to process it, and then we want other companies, small businesses, that will actually do something with that fibre. Now, I'm finding the big companies like Laminex, like CSR, the big building companies, they're not interested. They're saying we're before our time. So it's super important that us, we all know what we need to do, is to just educate people that this is the industry. This is the way that it's going to be. I talked to Laminex and said, oh, you know, you can use your fibre in there. It's going to be great. Yes, you will have to pay a bit more. And they came back and said, oh, well, we can get wood chip for $20 a tonne. And I'm like, well, but it's going to last longer. This is hemp. It's more durable. You've got to see the value added for it. So yeah, fibre is a big one for us. It's a problem. Absolutely. So if any of you out there have got we've got so many small little startup businesses that we're sending samples to that are really coming in to us now, but they're not going to get the industry off the ground for at least 3 years. So yeah, if anyone knows anyone, fibre, send them our way.
Any questions on that? Clearly it's not a simple process, which is why we're here shaking the can.
And this is why, basically, the industry, you know, the Europeans have been building houses for 40 years. We've got a long way to go. Yeah. Well, there's no industries that are actually using it yet. So basically, other than clothing, which is fibre in Europe and China, well, fibre in China is actually the most expensive part of the crop. That's where they make most of the money. You know, and you look at the biggest hemp fibre and herd company in the world for building products is Hemp Healthy. 50% of their profits come from CBD. We are not allowed to use the whole plant yet. 50% is CBD. The rest of it is fibre and herd. CBD is a cannabinoid. It comes from the leaf and the flower.
But when you're talking like that, it's a commodity. It's obviously more than that.
Yes, it is. I actually see CBD as a wellness oil, a stock standard wellness oil that you should be able to get from your retail store that should actually be tested, should be third-party tested. Once it's tested, the black market will actually go down quite a lot. Not that I have anything against the black market, but basically it does need to be regulated, absolutely.
Yeah, just booking at www.medicanclinics.com and we'll prescribe you. But no, not legally over the counter. There's many companies that are pushing it down, using making rules around if you rub it on your skin it's legal. But no, it's an S8 and S4 scheduled drug, so it has to be prescribed by the doctor. Yeah, it's a tricky one at the moment. Everyone's trying to help, but do be wary of when people just sell you things online. It's not actually legal. So it's, and if you're treating something serious like epilepsy or whatever, you want it to be the exact same medicine each time. And not just stop work for that week, you know, I'll have some more seizures. It's not quite like that. So through the doctor, is there any legal way to access any cannabinoids?
Input. If we got the input, whether we have the right agronomic management package, how to grow it. Do you know which area we have to grow and what time of the time we have to put on the ground? Because they are photoperiod sensitive crop. We cannot grow it into the winter. Hemp is a summer crop. We have to rely on the reliable rainfall. Mother Nature can give us rain when we do need it. Sometimes it doesn't happen. That's why we have to have a facility to put some water when the crop needs or they become thirsty. That's why we have to predict with the reliable rainfall distribution. And also, if we don't have the rainfall, we have to know how to put water if we have the irrigated facility. But we have to keep in our mind, we have to compete with our existing crop rotation. Whether that industrial hemp would be beneficial in terms of the dollar, because every farmer, they would like to get a better benefit cost analysis. We have to give a healthy gross margin. Due to the industrial hemp. And hemp, how does it fit into our existing rotation? Whether there is the opportunity to put that crop as a new crop. We have to put lots of inputs, lots of things to be a successful crop. If we are harvest from the farm gate, it will be cost might be $3.50 per kilo, $3,500 per ton. Whether we can achieve 2 tons in our farming system. We have to look at one, and also we have to do some value-added. What they have been doing, and all the stalls, we can see how much effort they are putting from grain to oil, seed, hemp oil or hemp burger or everything. That's why we have to work hard. Whether there is a ready-made market, market is important. Chicken and egg, whether we have to produce tonnage, 100,000 tons, or we have a ready-made market. We have to work and we have to get a good intelligence on the market. If we grow more, how we are going to sell the product? There should be a market, ready-made market. Or we grow fast, then we develop the market. Or we first develop the market, then we grow the product. We have to work closely with the growers association, with the researcher, with the consultants. If we are going to see a successful new industry in Australia. And in Western Australia, I would like to add one more thing that might be you will be interested to know. We are going to have a national industrial hemp cultivar trial from this year. And 4 states and Northern Territory, they are coming on board, and AgriFuture, they are going to money for next 3 years. The project already started from July 1, and we will be bringing more seeds into here, and we would like to find out the optimum time. And in Western Australia, we are going to have 2 trials, one in the south at Mendimak, and another one in Kananara. Northern Territory, they have 1 trial, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, and Queensland and New South Wales, they are not yet on board, but they are coming next year. That's why this is a real opportunity. AgriFuture is putting money for agronomy trial in Australia. Hopefully, we will have a good industry in the coming years, and we are going to share that results with you. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Shah. Shah's the expert in what's going on. I just wanted to add and reinforce a few little bits in there. As Shah said a bit earlier on, hemp is a summer crop, and if we want to grow for seed, we need to grow it over the summertime, and it will only flower as the days start to shorten. So it's planted in late spring, it's harvested in the autumn basically. In our own environment, in Western Australia, that means the insurance policy is water. You don't get a lot of rainfall over our summer. And hemp is not a majestic plant, it actually is a plant which grows just like any other plant, be it a couple of plants full of strawberries or a wheat crop or anything else. It needs water to grow. And we don't get that in our summertime here, especially in Perth. So the sort of work that we're looking at is you need around about 5 megalitres of water to grow a crop on 1 hectare, which is not an insignificant amount of water over the summertime. To do that, you also then need an investment in irrigation equipment and pumping and all sorts of things like that. The quick answer to all this lot, if you're just looking at the hemp seed industry, is that if you look at the economics of growing that crop in this environment, it is not much better than break even. You don't make a lot of money just growing the seed. The money then must be made from processing that and selling it as a product. And that's where, if you're large enough, if you haven't got the barrier of a large investment with the bank, you may end up being able to make some seriously good money. But that takes time, it takes time. So that's the hemp seed bit. The hemp fibre bit can be a little bit different, but even so, the economics of the farm gate price, that is producing the raw product, is very marginal in Western Australia at this stage. It is reliant on us finding good varieties, it's reliant on us finding all those things that make the agronomy tick and work best for the largest amount of product. And unfortunately, we are a little bit different to many other parts of the world. So the economics is in finding the value chain and what can I do with it and how do I make money off it.
We can throw the flower in the bin, that is the most profitable bit. So I think if we could actually use the very valuable part of the plant, the flower, it will attract a lot more investment, a lot more money will come in to actually get this process machinery for all the other bits of the plant. So like that 400 kilowatt berry would have been worth millions, that arch berry. So no one's really wanting to grow something at the moment if the berry is the most valuable part and there's no big end use for the bits we can use. So I think that's the main difference. We have to throw away the flower and every other country can sell it at the corner shop.
With a hemp license, they're allowed to.
Yeah, and put it this way, this is interesting, right? I actually, in the medicinal cannabis system now, I can legally import industrial hemp from the US, like I am, and we supply that as medicinal cannabis, and that's fine and legal, but I can bury my own industrial hemp that I grow here in Perth. So it's maybe next board, yeah, we can, yeah, I'm not brave enough yet to push the boundaries of the regulators. But yeah, no, but we can try. Yeah. But still, I've got to throw it away and we have to import stuff to use here.
Give it up big time with all your love for all the panelists.